Hey everybody, ronarray here, and opening stack decks always felt to me like a big gamba. I did a few videos about stack deck farming and always recommended to sell those instead of opening because you could even lose money if there will be nothing inside. But today's video is going against my usual preferences, and I'm going to open 5000 stack decks to see is it even profitable, how long will it take, and what kind of loot I will receive. For all of those questions, I'm going to showcase a detailed breakdown together with my thoughts and ratings as usual. Use timestamps to navigate between topics and let me know in the comments if you're opening or selling your stack decks. Let's go! So first off, let's discuss the costs. Current price for stack decks is about 1 divine per 80 for big packs. You can try to get it cheaper, around 85 per 1 divine, but it would take much longer, since the supply for lower price is not that good. Because of it, I decided to count a safe price with 1 divine to 80, and the whole pack of 5000 stack decks right now cost me about 62.5 divines, which is, to be honest, quite a lot. So it should be profitable, right? Buying time for 5000 should not be that big as well. You can also use force tools to buy them just passively or just spam through the big packs on trade website for about 30 to 60 minutes approximately. And it leads us to opening time. Opening 5000 decks while clicking non-stop took me about 2 hours and a little on top like 10 minutes. It was not that bad, and I expected that it would take much longer than this, but well, it's been kinda better. But it leads us to the next question, which is a wrist issue. After 600 stack decks, I needed to switch my hand, and all that experience was not pleasant. Obviously, if you're not opening stack decks every evening, it will not cause much damage to your wrist, only to your mental health instead. Switching hands definitely hinders the time of opening though, and I switched back around 1000 and been switching my hands back and forth while opening all 5000 stack decks, because it felt much better that way. Jokes aside, it wasn't that terrible. If the profits are high enough, I can imagine why you would decide to do it. So, breaking down our loot. First off, I received crazy amount of basic divination cards, such as Ever-Changing, Chaotic Disposition, The Risk, and Cartographer. I still looted most of them because they're kinda providing some quality, but I'm not really going to count most of them because those are too small, just 10 Cartographer chisels, it's not really a lot. However, here are pretty much the setup of basic cards that I looted in the process, such as Guardian Challenge, for example, The Artist, or Cortex card. So there's also additional bonuses such as the Raged, for example. Well, it's a pretty Gamba card, but you can still sell it for at least 2 or 3 chaoses, based on the situation. As you can see, I looted so many of them, so it could be a little hard to pretty much check them through. Consider I already had a pretty detailed and I would say pretty strict loot filter on top of that. Unfortunately, I looted only the best ones, which are actually not that best ones. So to calculate most of basic ones, I will use Path of Exile, because in my opinion that's probably the best option. So here is that tab in Path of Exile. So most part is pretty much the Rage, so 21 of them, and I know they cost less than 3 chaos, that's probably like 2.5, but you can still sell them. There's also such thing as the Souls, there's only 2, but both of them cost kinda alright. And Driving Heart and Magnum Opus are pretty nice too. There's also a lot of additional smaller cards, some of them could be sold for at least like 2 chaoses. I think selling all of them could be kind of annoying, but we still can calculate that in the similar approach. And considering those could be sold even like on some distance, I think we can calculate it for at least like 6 to 8 divines, because I think 8.4 divines as Path of Exile is kinda counting it right here. I think that's a little too optimistic, because selling most of the small ones will be too annoying. So I will count it at 6 divines, and I think it will be just fair. But the second part of the loot is much juicier, so most of the expensive cards are pretty much there. So I got some the patients that are not that expensive, additional nurses, and even one doctor in the process. I know the doctor is like 1.7 divines right now, so not a lot of profit. I also got enlightening, which is nice. Gem scatters, mercy, a lot of them. Those are like very cool, and you can sell them for like 30 chaoses, but well, I got 5. Also Eternal War, Blessing of Moosh, and Lacrimal Necrosis. There's also additional cool things such as Desecrated Virtue, which is kinda cool, and even more Necrosis. And that part is pretty much the part with Divine, so it's Fortunate, together with Divine Beauty, it's kinda half. The Sephiroth, and you know, I think 7 Sephiroth is probably one of the biggest money makers in there. Together with 2 Brother Gifts, and 2 The Immortal. So the Immortal is probably the most expensive card in the whole setup, and I received 2, so that's about 26 divines with current prices. And there's also Wealth and Power for Enlightening level 4, which is kinda nice. The Shieldbearer for Squire, the Darker Half, and the Divine Justice. I think Divine Justice is very cool as well. So let's see what Path of Exile is telling us about it. So here is the Path of Exile of the same stat tab. Immortal is providing the most part, like 25 divines, I think it's even 26 right now. For some reason, Scouting Brother Gift for 5.4 divines. Well, Brother Gift is giving only 5, I'm not sure if you can even sell it for that. Sephiroth is kinda well, and 7 of them is pretty cool. Divine Justice currently costs about 4 divines, Wealth and Power 1.7, and the rest is pretty much down there, so the least expensive card here is probably Blessing of Moosh for only 20 chaoses. But the whole setup is very nice, and Path of Exile is calculating it for 66 divines. But to be honest, I think it's a little less again, mostly because like Brother Gifts, it's not really cost 5.4, it's just 5 divines, and a few chaos prices are kinda not that good. So I would probably calculate it for 64 divines after all the setup. Mostly carried heavily by 2 Immortal and 2 Brother Gifts, together with 7 Sephiroths. So both of those stash tabs together. Path of Exile consider around 74 divines, with Immortal at the top and Brother's Gift Sephiroth pretty much the same way. However, it leads us to a lot of basic divination cards that will be very hard to sell, such as the Innocent, for example, or the Might is Right, or the Skeleton. And some of them will be very hard to sell. I'm not sure that anybody even buys them, so I would lower that amount from 74 to at least just 70. Because I'm sure that selling everything will be a little harder. And there's a little mistakes with Path of Exile, for example, like Brother Gift is 5.4 divines. So we're literally losing a divine just on Brother Gifts, because it's taken too good of a price. And 70 seems just fair for such setup. As you can see, that's a lot of cards. Maybe I missed some basic ones, but even looting all of those been quite a headache. So let's talk about the profit in terms of calculation. Based on Path of Exile with a little correction, we received about 70 divines overall. I also paid 62.5 divines per 5000 stack decks that I opened. So the profit is 7.5 divines. And we need to keep in mind that it's not really that good because I will need to sell all of those cards, especially smaller ones, that cost like 20 chaoses. And it could take a lot of time and could be very uncomfortable. In such situation, even if you'll take 7.5 divine profit for granted, I spent at least 3 hours doing all of that. It leads us to 2.5 divine per hour, and it's definitely not good farming. If some of the cards will even not sell, it will fall even lower to like 2 divines per hour or even less. So unfortunately, especially keeping the wrist issues in mind, I think it's not best Gamba right now and not the best farm for sure as well, so it's hard to recommend it. Talking about great or bait scale, I think on the scale it will be very close to bait, I would give it around 3 on the scale. Because, well, I made some profit if I will be able to sell everything, so it's not like 1, and it's not too bad. But it's just searching for a big jackpot, and if you're not hitting it, you're probably barely breaking even, and you're wasting a lot of time. So, unfortunately, it's not the best. That was my video for opening 5000 stack decks, and it went a little better than I expected, because to be honest, I expected that I'm going to lose currency on that. So even the bad results that we got, like small profit if everything will sell, is better than what you already have in mind when you're opening something like that. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.